Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I support the bill presented by Shri Thomas. I belong to the rural area and therefore, without going very deep into the constitutional intricacies, I would like to cite an example which would make it very clear as to what will happen to the country if we do not pass this bill. If there are only 5 year earning members in a family of 10 persons and the other 5 members are unemployed, it becomes impossible for the family to develop and it becomes weak from within and finally it disintegrates. Similarly, in the case of a country, if crores of people are unemployed, it is not only affects the overall production of the country and reduces the purchasing capacity of the people but also weakens the country. The most unfortunate thing is that it results in crisis of confidence and the people are disillusioned. And in the end, out of these evils, anarchy is born. If I say that a similar situation prevails in the country today, it will not an exaggeration. In 1951, the number of unemployed people was about 51 or 52 lakhs. This figure increased to 280 lakhs in 1986-87. At present, it is 4 crores. And these figures are only of those who have registered themselves with the employment exchanges. Apart from them, there are crores of educated and illiterate people who are unemployed. Even if they are employed, it is on a part-time basis, and if they are engaged on full-time job, they are underemployed, as a result of which considerable amount of labor potential is being wasted and consequently our country is being weakened from within. We may have a shining exterior, but the country is decaying from within. This is because only a handful of people have reaped the benefits of the 5-year plans and the rest of the crores of people have been deprived of it. The fruits of independence have not reached the Harijans and other weaker sections of the society. Even after 40 years of independence, there is an extraordinary gap between the rich and the poor in this country. We have on the one hand, a handful of people enjoying unlimited pleasures, and on the other, there are crores of people leading a life of poverty and deprivation. The benefits of development have not reached them, and as a result of which, even after 40 years of independence, 42% of the people are living below the poverty line. The government may define poverty line as it wishes, but the real meaning is one who is not able to afford 2 square meals a day when one is hungry, and this can be felt and understood if one has a close look at the people living below the poverty line. It means not being able to afford medicines or medical aid. Living below poverty line means to be born under the open sky and to die like a worm. This is the definition of those living below the poverty line. Even after 40 years of independence, India is a country which is divided into 2 separate classes. On the one hand, there are a handful of people who are immersed in the life of earthly luxuries, and on the other, vast multitudes of people are leading a life of helplessness and deprivation. The government may claim that many programs have been implemented for their welfare, and there are also programs for providing self-employment to the educated youth. If all these programs are evaluated, the conclusion is that the funds allotted for them are not utilized properly. You expect that a certain number of people who get employment opportunities by the aforesaid programs, but the results achieved are not to the desired extent. The funds are pocketed by those who are responsible for their implementation, and the real beneficiaries are thus deprived of those funds. The schemes are not benefiting the poor people. But the irony is that if some individual organization, group, or a certain section of society or community raises its voice in protest, you make allegations without giving a thought that these people are creating uproar everywhere. These people do not want the government to function properly, and they are playing within the unity and integrity of the country. We differ in our opinion on this point. We think protesting against evil is a threat to the unity and integrity of the country, and on the contrary, we think that it protects the unity and the integrity. A country does not disintegrate when it struggles against, but it disintegrates when it nourishes it. Hence, if evil is protected and nourished, it will certainly increase poverty and helplessness of the people, and they will never be able to overcome their impoverishment, and they will be disillusioned. And when people are in despair, no power in this world can save the country from the disintegration. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I rise to support the demands for grants of the Ministry of Food and Civil Supplies. This ministry has to perform mainly three types of roles. I will refer to those roles and express my views regarding the performance of this ministry in that respect. Public distribution system has to be looked after by this ministry. With that system and with the other powers which the ministry has, it should also succeed in holding the price line of the essential commodities. This is the second role which this ministry has to perform. The third role, according to me, which is also the most important, is the role to protect the consumers and to protect their rights as consumers of this country. As far as the public distribution system is concerned, no doubt at present there are about 3,40,000 fair price shops in this country. If we fix up the target as one fair price shop for 2,000 people, then also they fall short of this target. And at least 4 lakh fair price shops will have to be established in this country if we want to achieve the target of one fair price shop for every 2,000 people. I would request and urge upon the government to take prompt steps to increase the number of fair price shops as early as possible. Through these shops, only the public distribution system can work. We can reach every nook and corner of this country with all the essential commodities which are required for a common man. Another problem with respect to these fair price shops, which I would like to put before the government, is that at present the fair price shops have not become a viable propositions. As far as cities like Bombay are concerned, where we call them ration shops, nobody is now coming forward to take charge of any ration shop or to open a fair price shop. Therefore, rethinking will have to be done in order to make these shops more viable. Some more margin will have to be allowed. Some more facilities will have to be given as far as Bombay is concerned. Shop premises which are not available in Bombay have to be provided. In this respect, rethinking will have to be done, and more fair price shops will have to be encouraged and established. In view of the time which is at my disposal, I will not go into the details of this, but I may urge upon the government that protection of bumper rabi crop may not generate a sense of complacency, and we should still concentrate on these fair price shops as far as the whole country is concerned. The most important subject which prompted me to speak on this is the rights of the consumers, which are not properly protected at present by this department. We passed the Consumer Protection Act 1986 and it came into force from 24th December 1986. I would like to know whether every state has established the consumers forums which were contemplated under Section 7 of that Act, and what is the state of the National Forum which was supposed to be established under Section 5 of the Act. I am told that the forums which are formed are so unhealthy, with the result that I do not think hardly any meetings are held by these forums, and no purpose is being served by establishing these forums.